It's regrettable that these things happen, but I suppose it's not so surprising that it happens. It's like what took place in the early days of the pandemic, when masks were in short supply, when PPEs were in short supply, and countries scrambled to meet their own needs and to interdict and requisition supplies which were being manufactured in their own country, or sometimes which were even transiting in their country. And right now, the food supply chains are being disrupted because of Ukrainian war, and also inflation is high. So governments are under pressure, and sometimes they take unconventional measures, for example, interdicting exports of products. And several governments have done this. It's regrettable as a consumer country which imports food. We are adversely impacted. You can seek redress at the WTO if it fits the rules, or rather if the actions have violated the rules. But that would be a long process, and the immediate urgency is to secure our supply of food. And actually the answer to it is not what we do now, but what we have been doing now for several years, which has been to build up our buffer stocks and our resiliency and diversify our sources, so that if any single source is interrupted, we are not unduly affected. And if you can't buy chicken from one place, well, you can get chickens from other countries. And this time it is chicken, next time it may be something else. We have to be prepared for this. It's a very unsettled world, and inflation is a problem, cost of living is a problem, but in the scheme of things, actually many more disruptive things can happen than just some price adjustments. And we're seeing some of that now. I think every country in the region is reassessing their defense posture, their defense spending, their defense strategy. And Japan, of course, is doing that too. And they've been gradually, progressively building up their capabilities. And I think also gradually inching up their defense spending over the years. But as I said in my speech, security is not just an individual country thing, because if we each do what we are trying to do to make ourselves safe, collectively we may all make others feel unsafe, and then we may all end up worse off. So we also have to work together with other countries to secure collective security. And in Japan's case, it's particularly sensitive because of the war history. But with the passage of time, with the passing of generations, in a new strategic situation, I think the imperative to play a greater role in regional security for Japan is growing. And the best way they can fulfill that is by coming to terms and putting to rest the historical issues, which have been open for a long time. How is that done? It depends on the bilateral relations with individual countries and Japan's overall posture and its ability to demonstrate that it's adding value to the regional security situation. There's also participation in regional defense and security dialogues and arrangements. Japan participates in the ARF and the ADMM+. These are ASEAN discussion mechanisms to talk about issues in the region. In Southeast Asia, I think that the relationships are progressing. In Northeast Asia, with Japan with Korea is a difficult relationship. Japan with China is an even more difficult relationship. But nevertheless, I think the Japanese do understand that these are permanently their neighbors, and they need to do their best, and they will do their best to try to have a working relationship coexisting with them. I hope that the Japanese will open up soon. They are starting up with some trial groups of tourists in June. The initial groups are very small. I think they're opening up to 4 countries on group tours, strictly controlled itinerary. And altogether, the 4 countries make up 50 tourists. So it's just a very tiny experiment. But I'm quite sure after that, as they work out their procedures, they will open up further. In fact, yesterday when I met Prime Minister Kishida, I told him that there are many Singaporeans who used to visit Japan regularly and are very anxious to come back to Japan again for the food, for the skiing, for the scenery, for the religious tourism to the Buddhist sites. And we hope that you will open up. And once you do, I'm sure the flights will be full. And I think he heard me. So I hope that it takes place soon. There is an upper house election which is taking place in July, which I'm sure they wouldn't want to make any precipitate moves before that. But after that, if the COVID situation is stable, I think there's a good chance that we'll be able to resume the flow.